Hey, welcome back to the shop. This is Zach over at NV Woodworks. So today I'm going to be talking about safety. Safety working with casting resins for the most part, but I'm going to be doing this video kind of in conjunction with Woodworkers Safety Day, which is May 15th. So if you're not familiar with that, I don't know how many years ago that was kind of invented. I think Mark Spagnolo actually kind of came up with it, or him and Matt, I don't know. Somebody a long time ago kind of came up with this idea just to kind of spread the word, remind us about safety, just kind of have a little bit of a day of observance. And you know, the people that are writing blogs and doing videos and all that kind of stuff, the content creators and people that are in the forums, whatever, just share a tip, bring something up, and just kind of have a day focused on safety. So I think this has been going on for almost a decade now. So, you know, there's a lot of safety tips, and what I'm going to do is just kind of bring up safety working with resins. So, you know, there's obviously the casting portion of this, but I also cut, you know, the Alumilite, my pen blanks, or whatever the kind of blank it is. I cut it on the table saw, maybe sometimes the bandsaw. I turn it on the lathe. I use the drill press. So I'm just going to kind of talk about, you know, the standard things that you need to kind of work with the resins on the pouring side, and then I'm going to kind of talk about the dust when you're cutting it, turning it, and any fumes or anything like that that may be coming off of it. So stick around, maybe you'll learn something, I don't know, but I'm just going to kind of walk around and show you what I do to kind of protect myself from the dust, from, you know, the actual resin and the chemicals that are in that. So stick around and we'll cover some basic safety tips working with casting resins. Alright, so over here is my little kind of casting area. This is where I do most of my casting work. Now, the first thing that I'm going to say is use rubber gloves. You know, protect your hands. You don't want any of this resin. I don't care which type of resin you're using. Alumilite, epoxy, polyester resin, it doesn't matter. Put gloves on. You don't want this stuff all over your hands. Another thing that is a good tip is to wear something that'll protect your eyes in case something splashes. You definitely do not want any kind of casting resin in your eye. Now, a couple other things. If you're using polyester resin, it has a toxic smell to it. The fumes are toxic, and you do not want to be using this in an enclosed area. You want something well ventilated, and I'm not talking like put a fan on. It needs to be able to clear it out of the building or the room that you're in completely and get refreshing air coming in. So worst case scenario, I'd suggest doing it outside, because frankly the smell is really very strong and I don't like it personally. But you can do it outside. The other thing you could do is, if you have not very well ventilated area and there's still, you can kind of smell it, get a respirator that has the organic filter, and that should help protect you, you know, your lungs and all that stuff, and your brain from sniffing the toxic fumes. So just watch that with polyester resin. Alumilite doesn't really have a toxic smell. One thing I will say though is prolonged exposure using, you know, any of these products. I have heard of people developing allergies. Definitely one person that I know has developed an allergy to Alumilite, I guess. I don't know how that really came about. I don't know if it had to do with the casting, the turning of it, or what, but it's a good idea to, you know, have a well-ventilated area regardless of what you're using, and make sure you're not getting this stuff on your skin or anything like that. No contact with it. So couple little things to do. The other thing is, it's kind of messy sometimes. You don't want to have this sticky stuff all over. There's dyes that we're using and all that. So just make sure you protect yourself, and you should be pretty good while you're doing the casting. One other thing that I will say is something that's somewhat dangerous, I guess, or could be, is the pressure pot. If you're using pressure pots with your casting, again, there is some slight risk that something could happen with one of these things. So what I recommend is, do not go over the manufacturer's recommended, or you know, whatever the rating is for the maximum PSI. Do not fill your pressure pot to a higher PSI setting than what it says. Now, I know the Harbor Freights say that the max is 60 PSI. Frankly, I wouldn't even approach 60, you know, because if you're, you know, repeatedly putting 60 PSI or higher in it, it's probably going to fail. You know, it wears just like any other machine or tool or whatever. So I would probably recommend staying below that. I usually run my Harbor Freight pots at 50. Now this one, the CA Technologies, it's rated to 80. I don't really have to worry about too much with that one, and I can get higher pressures, but I sure as heck ain't going to exceed or even really creep up to 80 psi. So just watch that with the pressure pots. For the rest of this stuff, I'm going to take you over to the other tools that I use to kind of cut up the blanks and turn them. And I'll just kind of talk about what I use to help protect myself when I'm actually working on the cast materials. Alright, so I don't want to go into full extreme depth on, you know, table saw safety or, you know, whatever when you're turning or cutting your casting material, whatever type of resin you use. I do want to talk about the dust. I've gotten questions from people asking, you know, is Alumilite dust toxic? You know, is it any different than wood dust? The deal is, I don't know if it's any more toxic necessarily than wood dust. Realistically, wood dust is not like toxic, but what you're worried about is the fine particulate things that you literally can't even see, and you breathe them into your lungs, and you do that over, you know, long periods of time, and that's what's carcinogenic. Now, I don't think it really makes any difference if it's Alumilite, polyester resin, or walnut wood dust. That scenario where it's the fine dust, you do not want to be breathing that. So I will say the best thing to do when you're, you know, working with the, you know, Alumilite or whatever type of resin casting you're doing, I would definitely try to use dust collection at the source and collect as much as you can right off the tool. The next thing I do a lot of times, especially turning, there's no very good ways to do dust collection on lathes. There's things where you can put a big hood over it, but I don't like that personally. I don't like things being in my way, so what I do instead is, you know, I use a dust mask. I turn a fan on and blow it away from me. I also have a filter hanging that collects dust and clears the whole shop of it. So I just, you know, but the biggest thing, the best way to protect yourself without having to rely on a dust collector or any of these things is wear a mask, because if you can't see it, how do you know that you're not breathing it, basically? So best protection is use a dust mask. Again, I use the 3M faceplate type or half face mask, whatever. And then for just dust, all you need is the particulate type filters. These will not protect you from polyester resin fumes. You got to get the organic vapor cartridges. I don't recommend wearing those all the time necessarily because they're heavier. And if you're doing a lot of work with the face mask on, your neck's going to get tired. So just, you know, the particulate little discs are light and they protect you from the dust, basically. Again, Alumilite can possibly cause, you know, you could develop an allergy to it, basically. I do know people that have developed allergies to Alumilite. I've even heard of people that have allergies from extended exposure to just polyurethane varnish, basically. So it's best to always clear the room of any vapors if you're using chemicals, you know, resins or dust. It's best to make sure that you're getting it away from you or protecting yourself on your body. On the lathe, again, I use a fan, blow it down the line, and try and, you know, collect it at some other source, but I also wear a face mask so that I don't develop an allergy, hopefully, or anything like that. So either way, dust is bad. I don't care what's producing it. So again, with the machines, keep your hands out of blades, use little push sticks, always wear your safety glasses, and everyone should be happy and safe. So I hope this was a little bit helpful. I don't know, sometimes safety gets kind of boring after a while, but it's good to kind of touch on things. Maybe I brought up something that somebody didn't think about already. So I hope this was helpful. If you have any comments or questions, if you have any other safety ideas to add to this, you know, leave comments down below on YouTube. You can email me at zach@nvwoodworks.com. I'm on Facebook and Twitter. And until next time, I'll see you in the next video.